I invite the Minister of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness to lead the House in prayer and reflection.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Today I offer words from Jane Goodall. Jane Goodall was an extraordinary woman. She dedicated her life to research and advocacy for chimpanzees, species conservation, and respect for local people and the environment. Up until her passing at age 91, she traveled the world speaking about the threats facing chimpanzees and environmental crises, urging each of us to take action on behalf of all living things and the planet we share. And I quote, "You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference. And you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make." Thank you.
Introductions by members. Member for Abbotsford West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the Blue Jays called me to make sure that I would announce their next series in the House. Because as we know, athletes are very superstitious, and so they wanted to make sure I announced them because they believe by announcing in this House, it propelled them to victory over the Mariners. So without further ado, the best of 7 game World Series starts tomorrow night. It's the Los Angeles Dodgers versus the Toronto Blue Jays. The history of the Los Angeles is they've been in the league 135 years. They have 39 postseason appearances. They've won 27 pennants, 8 world championships. Their payroll is over $350 million annually. The young Blue Jays have been 49 years in the league, have had 11 playoff appearances, 3 pennants, and 2 world championships, but $100 million less in their payroll annually. Mr. Speaker, this is David versus Goliath. All we need is one smooth stone, Mr. Speaker, and we can knock Goliath out. Go, Blue Jays, go.
Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've got some guests visiting today in the chamber. 2 of them I absolutely adore. My dad, Henry, and my mom's Leanne, visiting from Main Island. And they've brought a friend with them. They've brought Ryan Palmer. He's from Sacramento, California. This is his first time visiting our lovely country. And I'd just like to say thank you for being a friend to Canada. We appreciate your visit.
Leader of the Fourth Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I'm honored to introduce an esteemed guest into our provincial legislature. He was fired from his position as a high school teacher for telling the truth. He was fired for refusing to lie to his students. His name is Jim McMurtry. And he refused to repeat the worst lie in Canadian history, that a genocide took place at the Kamloops Residential School. Let me be clear. Canadians have never committed a genocide. 0 bodies were found at Kamloops. Yet Canadians continue to be guilted into giving up their country based on this lie. For that, Jim McMurtry was silenced, cast aside and shamed.
Just make the introduction, not a 2-minute statement, please. Thank you.
Okay. He has a PhD in educational theory from the University of Toronto. He's been committed to a life of service at schools as a coach, club supervisor, mentor, and organizer of events for students with disabilities. Jim is a Canadian hero, and in the name of the truth and in the name of British Columbia's glorious history and its exceptional British founders, we honor Jim McMurtry today in this House. Thank you, Jim.
Minister of Environment.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Once again, my daughter is here visiting in the precinct, a strong Indigenous young woman. And I hope that everyone here will make her feel welcome and safe. I also have the honor of introducing Michelle Brown, the Executive Director of the North Island Marine Mammal Stewardship Association. This association does the unique and important work of supporting marine mammals, the economy, and the marine environment off of northern Vancouver Island. Please join me in welcoming Michelle.
Member for Peace River South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know that my esteemed colleagues in this chamber on both sides of the aisle have heard me introduce and speak of my family in the past, and we all appreciate how incredibly important those folks are. I've also been reminded by my family that I am joined this morning, or we are joined this morning by my first grandchild, and I neglected to mention his name last time I introduced him. So I'd like to welcome Elijah Piper and his father, my son-in-law, Carl Piper. Please welcome Phil. Welcome.
Minister of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Well, when people rise with hate, when they try to spread hate, we get organized. And I want to acknowledge a group that's joined us here today who stand against hate against LGBTQ people, sometimes spread by other people. They've joined us here, the Dogwood Monarchist Society, and I've got to say, Honourable Speaker, I'm a proud Dogwood monarchist. They are a group established in 1972 to fundraise, to friend raise, and to have a heck of a lot of fun, dancing on Davie Street, dining on Denman Street, winning the West End, and indeed all across this province and across our country. So I would ask the House, please help me honor and welcome their most imperial sovereign majesties, Emperor and Empress Zach and Alter, and their imperial crown princess, Glimmer Rouge, and of course, the rest of their esteemed delegation who are joining us today. Go DMS, go Dogwood Monarchists, stand against hate, stand up for love. Welcome.
Member for Kamloops Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're joined here today by two great younger Port Coquitlam proud residents that do a lot of great things within their community. Very proud to be from Port Coquitlam. Keenan Adams and his wife Florence, and some members might recognize Keenan's name. He was a candidate for us in the last election, and we have no doubt on this side that he will one day continue on the tradition of Port Coquitlam of putting someone here for 30 years. Thank you.
Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know we have a number of representatives from neighbourhood houses in the chambers and in the building today, and I'm glad to welcome them all, and I just want to specifically recognize and welcome three members from the Little Mountain Neighbourhood House Society in my own riding. Diane Willman is the Director of Settlement and Older Adults. Andrea Canales is the Director of Children and Youth Programs, and Joel Bronstein is the Executive Director. Like all neighbourhood houses, Little Mountain Neighbourhood House provides incredible programs and services that help ensure that our community is welcoming and safe and supportive for all members across the community. I had the opportunity with other colleagues to visit the Little Mountain Neighbourhood Society's food hub recently, where they distribute food that's grown locally to members of the community. Incredible work. I'm so grateful for them and all of the neighbourhood houses for what they do.
Leader of the Third Party.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I am fully energized to introduce our new BC Green Party leader, Emily Lowen. You're allowed to stand, Emily. Emily grew up right here in Victoria and is a renter, organizer, and passionate advocate for climate justice and Indigenous solidarity. Emily has led federal policy coalitions that represent over 1.5 million Canadians as a strategist at Climate Action Network Canada, has worked at the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives, published critical research, and successfully led a major fossil fuel divestment campaign. I note that Ms. Lowen is in very good company in this House. She's also been targeted by the Alberta Premier for her work. I look forward to Emily joining us here on the floor of the chamber in good time. Please join me in welcoming Emily Lowen.
Member for Kelowna Centre.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. This morning, I just want to give a shout out to my youngest daughter. It is her birthday. She's not here, but in my 25 years of raising my children, this is the first birthday I'm missing. So it's a little bit of a sad day for me, but I'm also just so overwhelmingly proud of Michaela. She turned 17 today, and she passed her road test on Monday, first try. Join me in wishing her a happy birthday.
Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Although I'm not there in the House today and working from home, I do know that Kit's Neighbourhood House is in the House today. This is a wonderful organization that provides such integral services to folks in my riding. Services for seniors, childcare services, everything in between. I was recently there for Diwali. I go there for Nowruz. They do a wonderful job of welcoming everyone into their community. They showed sugarcane on Indigenous Peoples Day and really brought together our community to talk about really issues of great importance. They're truth tellers. They're valued members of our community. They do fantastic work. Please join me in welcoming them to the House today.
Minister of Labour.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and I'd like to provide a warm welcome today to Mary Trentadue, who is here with the Neighbourhood House group that is visiting the precinct today. Mary is a former city councillor. She is a New West community booster and advocate. She is somebody who brings community together, and she is part of a team that is working on a beautiful project of building a neighbourhood house in New Westminster. Would the House please join me in making her feel very welcome today?
Member for Prince George Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know we always talk about our loved ones at home when we're here doing this work, and I couldn't do this job without my lovely wife, Elise Giddens. It's her birthday on Saturday, so in the spirit of wishing our family members a happy birthday, I want to wish my lovely wife a very happy birthday. Right now, as we're here today, my wife and my two kids are on a flight to Halifax. My wife will be receiving her convocation for her MBA program, and I am so proud of her. So, congratulations, honey.
Member for Victoria Beacon Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am also not there, but I know members of my community are. Victoria Beacon Hill is absolutely blessed to have 3 neighborhood houses. The James Bay Community Project, the Fairfield Gonzales Neighborhood Association, and the Fernwood Resource Group. They are absolutely essential. They provide $10 a day childcare, food, services to seniors, newcomers in our community. They support new housing that is going in all around Victoria Beacon Hill. They are absolutely essential to robust, connected communities. I'm incredibly grateful for the work that they do, and hope everyone will join them and join me in welcoming them to the House.
Minister of Culture, Arts, Tourism, everything.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And on behalf of all the Burnaby MLAs that are here today, I want to recognize in the gallery today we have a very dear friend, Antonia Beck, who is the CEO of Burnaby Neighbourhood House. Antonia has founded the Burnaby Neighbourhood House in 1996, and she was first executive director, and she's now CEO. Since then, we've seen 2 neighbourhood houses in Burnaby, one in the south and one in the north. And I want to thank her for her very close to 40 years of service to the community of Burnaby, and I look forward to celebrating her retirement. Would everyone join me in thanking Antonia for the work that she does and making her feel very welcome in the House today?
Member for North Island.
I want to welcome Dr. Caitlin Stockton, a very strong advocate for healthcare for accountability and transparency, and I want to thank the Minister of Health for meeting her today.
Member for Wandifuka Malahat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to introduce a local resident of mine, Kelly Walker from the Souk Family Resource Society, also an advocate for Neighborhood House. Thank you.
Minister of Post-Secondary Education.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm pleased today to welcome the BC Federation of Students who are visiting the Legislature today as a part of their Fall Advocacy Days. They're led by Chairperson Debbie Herrera-Lira and Secretary-Treasurer Cole Reinbold, and joined by representatives and members at large from their organization that represent 14 universities and colleges across our province. They are passionate student leaders, and they're here to share their voices and the priorities of over 170,000 students across our province. So I would really like to thank them for their advocacy and ask the House to join me in wishing them a warm welcome to the House.
Member for Vancouver Strathcona.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to welcome all the neighborhood houses that are here in the House. And I also invite the MLAs, all of us, to have a meet and greet with them from noon to 1 in the Hall of Honor. Little luncheon. Thank you for coming.
Member for Vernon Lumbee.
Speaker, as a proud BC Nurses Union member myself, and on behalf of member MLA from North Vancouver Seymour and our entire BC NDP caucus, I am thrilled to welcome BC Nurses Union delegates here. They're here at the precinct, and we had a wonderful meeting. President Adrian Gare, Vice President Tristan Newby, their executive team, and their lobby coordinators from all over the BC, all regions representing, and fierce advocates for healthcare, stronger public healthcare, and the work that I had the honor to work with many of them. And I just want to say we had a wonderful meeting. They appreciated the efforts that our government making BC one of the only jurisdiction implementing nurse-patient ratios and bringing relational security officers as well as mental health supports, and we shared our challenges and our collective commitment to continue to work together to strengthen our healthcare system. Would the House please join me to welcome these incredible group of people and thank them for everything they do every day. Thank you.
Minister of Education.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. In the gallery today, we have Christian Cowley from Maple Ridge, who runs the Neighborhood House in Maple Ridge, a seed center, as it's known, who offer fantastic programs and services to our community. And I hope the whole House will make Christian feel very welcome. Thank you. Just on a personal note as well, I want to give my heartfelt appreciation to the member from Prince George and the member from Kelowna. All of us who have kids in this House have missed events or families and spouses, and it's difficult for every single one of us, and we feel you, we see you, we know how important it is to your families that you be here and do your work, but it's also important for your families that you're home for them. So take the leave, go home, spend time with your families, and we feel you. Yeah.
Minister of Social Development and Poverty Reduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, joining us in the House from Nanaimo, we have two leaders in education. Dan Parker, who's a grade 10 and 9 teacher from Nanaimo District Secondary School, NDSS, is part of the BC Teachers Institute on Parliamentary Democracy. Reminder to members that noon to 1 at Ned Debec, you can meet with some of these teachers. Dan Parker brought his class here to the Legislature in March. It was great to meet them. And also from Vancouver Island University Student Union, Cole Reinbold. Both of these leaders are making a big impact in my riding of Nanaimo Gabriola Island. Will the House please join me in welcoming them?
Member for Esquimalt-Colwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would be amiss not to thank that I see Mary from Esquimalt Neighbourhood House up in the gallery. Esquimalt Neighbourhood House does amazing work in not just my community of Esquimalt, but across my riding. So would the House make her feel extra welcome today?
Member for Vancouver-Langara.
Speaker, today I welcome members from South Van Neighborhood House in the gallery. They do commendable work for communities, seniors, families, newcomers, and we are very fortunate to have them serve the South Vancouver communities, and let's make them feel welcome in the house.
Members, I will remind all members that the updated virtual participation guidelines include a prohibition on the use of blurred backgrounds. While the chair recognizes the Minister of Finance, I thank the Minister for rectifying her background right away. Thank you so much. Madam Clerk.
Introduction of bills. Statements by member.
Member for Peace River South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It does warm my heart.
Member, just hold it. I think there's a...
Sorry?
Yeah. Under the introduction of bills, Leader of the Fourth Party.
Honourable Speaker, I move that a bill entitled the Land Acknowledgement Prohibition Act, of which notice has been given in my name on the order paper, be introduced and read a first time now.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to introduce the Land Acknowledgement Prohibition Act. Land acknowledgements are the anthem of a suicidal nation. They're recited in classrooms, boardrooms, and before virtually every public event. They're repeated ritualistically to instill the belief that our country is illegitimate, that Canada has no right to exist, that our ancestors are evil, and our history must be abrogated. They tell our children that we stand on stolen land. This bill will make it unlawful for publicly funded institutions and their employees, such as teachers, to make or to compel others to make land acknowledgements that deny the sovereignty of the Crown over the lands of British Columbia, or that attribute collective guilt based on race, ancestry, or the historical actions of Canadian figures. Our bill expressly protects statements that are historically accurate and includes provisions to guarantee academic freedom. British Columbia has a glorious history. Our British founders entered this land in the 18th century as the untamed wilderness that it was. They built roads, railroads, mines, homes, and established laws. They created a civilization we call home and enjoy today. Our ancestors were not evil. The truth is they did not steal Canada, they built Canada, and we're not ashamed of that. We're proud of their legacy and of our history and culture, a magnanimous and glorious one. We'll no longer shame ourselves in the daily course of public life. Mr. Speaker, the Land Acknowledgement Prohibition Act declares that this land belongs to all British Columbians without apology and without surrender. We should end all forms of discrimination between citizens based on race or ancestry.
Thank you, Member.
I urge every member of this House to affirm their commitment to the equal rights and equal dignity of every Canadian by supporting this bill.
Member, the question is first reading of the bill. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Nay. Division has been called. Members, can we waive? Everybody is in the house. Can we waive the time? Everybody in the house, members? Nay? Members, question is the first reading of the bill introduced by member for Vancouver Colchana, entitled Land Acknowledgement Prohibition Act. All those in favor, please rise. Thank you. Be seated. All those against, please rise. Please be seated. And Madam Clerk will connect with members participating remotely. Madam Clerk.
Minister Bailey.
I vote nay.
MLA Chow.
I vote nay.
Minister Lohr.
I vote nay.
Madam Clerk.
Those voting aye, Bangu, Moz, Brody, Armstrong, and Keeley, 5. Those voting nay, Lohr, G. Anderson, Blatherick, Rutledge. Those voting nay, Lohr, G. Anderson, Blatherick, Rutledge, Chant, Toporowski, B. Anderson, Neal, Osborne, Brar, Krieger, Davidson, Parmar, Sunner, Bear, Chandra Herbert, Wickens, Kang, Sandhu, Beg, Higginson, Philip, Lajeunesse, Choi, Rochford, Elmore, Morissette, Popham, Dix, Sharma, Farnworth, Eby, Bailey, Callan, Green, Whiteside, Boyle, Ma, Young, Malcolmson, Gibson, Glimac, Aurora, Shaw, Chow, Deer, Wilson, Kindy, Millibar, Warbus,
Rustad, Banman, Watt, Cooner, Halford, Hartwell, Neufeld, Van Popta, Dew, Clare, K. Neufeld, Peyton, Gasper, Chan, Tour, Hepner, Giddens, Davis, McInnes, Bird, McCall, Stamer, Day, Tepper, Mock, Williams, Lowen, Dollywall, Dirksen, Luck, Locke, Valeriot, Botterill, Sturco, and Boltby. 85.
Motion is defeated. Madam Clerk. Sorry, member for Kamloops, North Thompson?
No, she doesn't.
Member?
Honorable Speaker, I move that a bill introduced dashboard camera requirement for Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Act 2025, of which notice has been given in my name on the order paper, be introduced and read a first time now. Mr. Speaker, all members of this chamber have witnessed firsthand and dangerous drivers among us. In today's fast-paced world, safety and accountability on our roads have never been more important. That's why implementing mandatory dashboard cams in commercial vehicles is a smart, forward-thinking step that benefits everyone, drivers, companies, and the public alike. Dash cams provide clear, objective evidence in the event of accidents or disputes. Instead of relying on conflicting reports, investigators and insurance companies can see exactly what happened. This protects professional drivers from false claims and helps ensure that those truly at fault are held accountable. Beyond evidence, dash cams promote safer driving habits. Knowing they are being recorded encourages drivers to remain focused, follow traffic laws, and drive responsibly. Over time, this leads to fewer collisions, less downtime, and reduced insurance costs for companies and ICBC. For the public, mandatory commercial dash cams mean greater transparency on our highways. That can help identify reckless drivers, unsafe driving conditions, or even capture evidence in criminal investigations. In short, they make our roads safer for everyone. In an industry built on responsibility and trust, dash cams are not about surveillance. They're about professionalism, protection, and peace of mind. By mandating dash cams in all commercial vehicles, we're investing in safety, accountability, and the future of transportation. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Members, the question is first reading of the bill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Member?
Honourable Speaker, I move that the bill be placed on the orders of the day for second reading at the next sitting of the House after today.
You have heard the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, member. Madam Clerk.
Statements by members.
Member for Peace River South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It warms my heart and allows me to sleep well in the evening knowing that all of my colleagues here can't wait to view my social media feed before they go to sleep in the evening. And I want to thank you for that. As you have all diligently followed my social media feeds, you will recognize the trauma that the beautiful community of Tumbler Ridge has gone through with respect to losing their emergency response room. Today, I want to recognize an extraordinary British Columbian who has been instrumental in heading the fight to bring back that incredibly important part of the community. That individual is Dr. Charles Helm of Tumbler Ridge. For decades, Dr. Helm has been a cornerstone of healthcare, science, and community leadership in the South Peace. As a family physician, he has served with compassion and dedication, providing care to residents in some of our province's most remote and rural communities. Dr. Helm's commitment to accessible health care has been unwavering. He has been working very closely, as I've already stated, with local officials, colleagues, and health authorities to ensure that residents once again have access to their vital emergency health care. Beyond medicine, Dr. Helm's passion for the outdoors and community well-being has left a lasting mark. He helped develop and promote local hiking trails across the region and founded the Emperor's Challenge Mountain Run, an annual event that attracts participants from across the province and celebrates the natural beauty of northern British Columbia. Dr. Helm is also recognized internationally for his pioneering work in paleontology. His leadership in discovering and preserving the Tumbler Ridge dinosaur trackways led to the area's designation as a UNESCO Global Geopark. On behalf of this House, I extend our heartfelt appreciation to Dr. Charles Helm, for his outstanding contributions to healthcare, recreation, and the scientific heritage of this province. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for North Vancouver Seymour.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to bring recognition to a small yet mighty new initiative that provides great joy to the seniors and elders on the North Shore. I will, of course, start by acknowledging with gratitude that I'm speaking on the lands of the Lekwungen people, specifically the Songhees and the Esquimalt. And when I'm at home, I'm in the riding of North Vancouver Seymour, and I'm on the lands of the Squamish and the Tsleil-Waututh. And I speak these names with honor and pride. Today I rise to celebrate a movement that brings dignity, joy, and connection to our elders and mobility-challenged citizens, cycling without age. Founded on the simple yet profound idea that everybody deserves the wind in their hair, Cycling Without Age has grown to over 3,500 chapters in 41 countries. Here in British Columbia, we are proud to host 23 chapters, each powered by volunteers who give their time, compassion, and pedal power to those who can no longer ride on their own. I want to highlight the remarkable work of the North Shore Vancouver chapter. In 2025 alone, they partnered with 20 care organizations and 40 pilots, providing over 1,000 rides to residents using a fleet of 5 two-seater trishaws and 2 specially designed wheelchair-carrying trishaws. Cycling Without Age reminds us that accessibility is not just about infrastructure, it's about inclusion. It's about ensuring that no one is left behind regardless of age or ability. But it's not just about older people receiving rides, it's also about the volunteers, who are known as pilots. Cycling Without Age is less about volunteering in the traditional sense of the word and more about active citizenship. Citizenship that's driven by a desire to get involved and to make a real difference for somebody. It's about creating relationships between people. Let us continue to support and expand this inspiring initiative across our province, because when we invest in compassion, we build a stronger, more connected British Columbia. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Richmond Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to take this moment to recognize the Western Canada Chinese Calligraphy Association for their recent exhibition and their ongoing contribution to our community. I have the privilege of attending the opening of both their current and past exhibitions, which beautifully showcase the richness of Chinese culture and artistic heritage. One of the masters shared that practicing calligraphy helps bring calmness, balance, and reflection to our lives. I was especially inspired to learn that Master Lau, at 85 years old, continues to teach and share his passion, a true symbol of lifelong dedication and community spirit. Chinese calligraphy represents more than artistic beauty. It carries deep wisdom and philosophy. My mother, Susanna, a former Chinese teacher and principal, also practices calligraphy and painting. She now serves as the president of Kingsland Calligraphy, a group that meets weekly at the Miniru Center for Active Living in my riding of Richmond Centre. When I was first elected as an MLA last year, she wrote for me the phrase, "Song Xin Yak Sui," which with the speaker approval, I have it here with me today. It means the highest goodness is like water. To my English-speaking colleagues, this saying teaches the water nourished all things without competing for credit. It symbolized harmony and fairness. My mother reminded me and all of us as elected officials that we're not above others. We're here to serve with good heart. Like water, we should serve and nourish every corner of our society without ego or desire for fame. Honourable Speaker, as we celebrate the first Korean Heritage Month here in British Columbia, let us continue to celebrate many cultures that shape our province and work together to build a community rooted in respect, empathy, and shared pride. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Member and I will talk later. Member for Kootenay-Monashee.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Today, as I am often inclined to do, I rise to celebrate an incredible rural leader, Don Nutini. Recently, I had the pleasure of joining the community at the Trail Airport to dedicate the air terminal in Don's honour, now officially the Don Nutini Terminal. It's a fitting tribute to someone who has been instrumental in developing that airport and the terminal building itself. Now, I say this with great respect for my colleagues, mayors, councillors, regional directors, and MLAs. We come and go. But Don, he is ever present, doing good work for the community. And at 94 years young, he has no plans to slow down anytime soon. I met Don decades ago. From the first moment, he impressed me as calm, reasonable, funny, and above all, a man of action, not words. He's the kind of person who doesn't seek the spotlight, but is always there in the background, quietly moving projects and people forward. Don's fingerprints are all over the trail area, from the Colombo Lodge Piazza to the heliport at Kootenay Boundary Regional Hospital, to trail communities in bloom, and of course the Trail Airport. Few people have given as much to their community as Don Nutini. At 94, he continues to inspire all of us with his energy, humility, and lifelong commitment to service. Thank you, Don, for everything you've done and continue to do. You are a shining example of selfless volunteerism, community spirit, and the Italo-Canadian community in trail. Congratulations, Don. You are truly an inspiration. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Leader of the third party.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm proud to stand and celebrate the work of the Whistler Naturalist Society. I know what you might be thinking. Despite Whistler's colorful counterculture history, I'm not talking about a nudist club. The Whistler Naturalists The Whistler Naturalists emerged from founder Bob Brett and others' desire to better understand and appreciate our natural environment. They diverged from the Association of Whistler Area Residents for the Environment because they chose a path focused on exploration and education instead of advocacy. For over 25 years, this volunteer-driven organization has been a cornerstone of nature education in Whistler, offering monthly bird walks, glacier monitoring, bio-blitzes, dendrochronology, and school outreach programs. One of the naturalists' most remarkable contributions is the October festival to celebrate mushrooms called Fungus Among Us. I'm going to say it a few times because I like saying it. Fungus Among Us brings together school children, amateur mycologists, scientists, indigenous knowledge keepers, chefs, and nature lovers to explore the fascinating world of fungi. On a foraging walk and talk with enthusiastic expert Aaron Feldman last Saturday, my daughters and I learned that mushrooms are just the tip of the iceberg, the fruiting body of a vast underground mycelial network. Also, that the MycoMap network will map the genetic sequence of every species of fungi in British Columbia and beyond. Because fungi are more than just fascinating, they're foundational. From penicillin to statins, fungi have revolutionized modern medicine. They've given us life-saving antibiotics, immunosuppressants for organ transplants, and are now being studied for their potential in mental health therapy. Psilocybin from fungi is showing promise for treatment-resistant depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. Fungus's role in science is as profound as its role in our forests. Through events like Fungus Among Us, the Whistler Naturalists remind us that nature is not just something we visit, it's something that is part of us, and we are part of it. The Naturalists' dedication to fostering curiosity, stewardship, and community connection is a gift to Whistler and beyond. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Burnaby East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week, from October 20th to 24th, I proudly stand in solidarity with YWCA Canada, the World YWCA, and communities in dozens of countries to mark the Week Without Violence, a time to recommit to ending all forms of violence, especially violence against women and girls. Around the world, more than 123 million people have been affected by conflict and persecution. In the Middle East, including Gaza, Sudan, Ukraine, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, women and children who do not start wars are too often the ones that suffer most. These realities remind us that peace and safety are not abstract ideals. They are human rights that must be protected, built, and shared. Here at home, in Canada, and in British Columbia, we know the struggle is not distant. Every 2 days, a woman or a girl in Canada is killed because of gender-based violence. Indigenous women and girls continue to face disproportionately high rates of violence rooted in systemic inequities. We cannot accept this as normal. Our government is committed to creating a future where safety, dignity, and justice are not just privileges for some, but guarantees for all. That means sustained investment in prevention, affordable housing, trauma-informed supports, and survivor-centered action. It means amplifying the leadership of communities and organizations like the YWCAs across the province and around the world who continuously show us what true courage and care in action truly look like. But this work cannot be done by one government or one organization alone. All levels of government, local, provincial, territorial, and federal, must unite with communities, Indigenous partners, and global allies to end gender-based violence once and for all. As we rise for peace this week, I am reminded of the words of Malala Yousafzai, who said, "We cannot all succeed when half of us are held back." The truth should guide us in every policy, every partnership, and every act of solidarity until every woman and girl can live free from fear. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Madam Clerk.
Oral questions by members.
Member for Langley Walnut Grove.
Mr. Speaker, families are losing faith that their kids will ever have safe, reliable schools under this government. In Kitimat, Mount Elizabeth, the only middle school, was promised to be replaced 10 years ago. 20% of that school building has been condemned and is closed. And even Rio Tinto and LNG have staffing issues because of the state of that school. When will the minister deliver on that promise and treat rural students with respect?
Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. As the member has noted, families need good schools in their community so that they can give their children the best chance they have to succeed and thrive. It's not only good for our children, but it's also good for our economy. When communities don't have enough access to safe schools for their children, they can have difficulty recruiting workers into their communities. This and so many other reasons are why our government has been building and expanding K-12 schools at a record pace since we came into government in 2017. We've invested over $6 billion in schools so far. There's much more on the way. I'm happy to connect with the member opposite on the specific school that she has raised, but suffice to say, we have been doing a lot and we will continue to do a lot.
Member supplemental.
Cedar Elementary was promised a replacement in 2017 and again in 2024. The minister blamed the delay on a fire at another school, but that's covered by school replacement program. The school's breakfast and lunch program is run out of a gym change room, and the only accessible bathroom in the entire school is behind a plastic accordion door in a storage closet. When will this government finally give Cedar students a safe, inclusive school?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. It was devastating to communities across the province when we lost schools to fire. We lost 3 schools to fire in the last few years alone. We've been working with school districts that have been affected by these fires. It was understood that the schools that were affected by these fires needed to be prioritized in our capital plan, and that's what we've prioritized. I assure the member that we understand that more needs to be done, and as a government, we have demonstrated our commitment year over year to building and expanding schools across the province. We'll continue to do that work.
Member for Abbotsford Mission.
Mr. Speaker, in Mission, a 92-unit affordable housing complex is finished and sitting empty. Families can't afford to buy, can't afford to rent, and now can't even move into homes that are already built. Can this minister stand and give us a specific date when the doors will be open for this building? What is the date?
Minister of Housing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the question. I'm happy to follow up on the specifics of that building. I don't have them in front of me. I can tell you that across this province, we've been working on delivering more housing for seniors, more housing for families, more supportive housing. In Mission specifically, we've delivered 73 units through the Community Housing Fund for low-income families. We've delivered 179 units across 3 separate projects for community members with special needs, 19 units, 50 units of supportive housing and 54 shelter beds. More is needed, and I'm happy to work with the member opposite to better understand the specific project she's speaking to.
Member supplemental.
Local mayors are saying relations with the NDP are, quote, at a historic low. They are hiding behind NDAs and shutting out communities with a one-size-fits-all approach that fits nobody. Royal Mayor Sid Tobias called this government's and this Premier's actions dangerous. Why doesn't this Premier trust BC mayors and councils?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have very good relationships with the vast majority of local governments across this province. I know how hard it is to be working at the local government table, and I am so glad to be working alongside hardworking and dedicated mayors and councillors across this province. I had excellent meetings throughout the Union of BC Municipalities Conference. Just recently, I'm on the phone with mayors regularly talking about how we can work together on challenges. We are, it's true, a government that has been very ambitious, appropriately so, on building more housing options so young families can stay in their communities, so seniors can age in their communities. We're working alongside local governments to reduce barriers, reduce red tape, and ensure that homes get delivered for people in every community of this province, and we'll continue to do that work.
House Leader of the Third Party.
Speaker, yesterday I spoke to the previous member from Saanich North in the Islands who encountered a bear while fishing in the Goldstream River, a precious ecosystem that's under threat from a completely unnecessary ecosystem-killing highway expansion proposal. Adam Olson said he and the bear happily coexisted without conflict because there is enough salmon in the river for both of them. Our province is a bit like that river, but food isn't being shared with everyone. That inequality is rupturing our social cohesion. British Columbia has the worst inequality in Canada, with the poorest 20% of households totaling only 3% of disposable income. This isn't only unfair, it's dangerous. According to United Nations report released today, there's a direct link between inequality, an insufficient social security system, and the rise of far-right extremism. My question is to the Premier. Inequality is driving an us-against-them mentality. Is he the least bit worried that his failure to address inequality is rupturing the social cohesion of this province?
Minister of Social Development and Poverty Reduction.
Mr. Speaker, the world does feel very uncertain right now. We recognize the pressure that people are under across the globe because of inflation impacts. Our government has made poverty reduction a priority since our very first year in government. British Columbia was the last place in the country to not have a poverty reduction strategy. We brought one in 2018. We brought in another one last year. And it is informed across government the annual increases to minimum wage, the highest minimum wage in the country other than Prince Edward Island. Historic investments in food growing and food distribution to help people tackle the incredibly increased cost of groceries. Improved employment planning so that people that need a little bit of an extra lift up can get employment supports so that they can participate more fully in community and economy. That's good for everybody. And as we discussed yesterday, historic increases in income assistance and PWD support. There's more for us to do. We're continuing to do the work because we know everybody does better when they get a little bit of extra help. Thank you.
Member supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, we've heard it over and over. The government's coffers are empty and everybody's got to tighten their belts. Let's start by cutting corporate subsidies and handouts to fossil fuel companies. Next, we can look to BC's wealthiest 1% who aren't paying their fair share. That would start to balance the scales and make life more livable for the working class. 3 in 10 British Columbians are eating less every month to make ends meet. Meanwhile, the province finds another $200 million to fund fossil fuel infrastructure. So when we're looking for ways to balance BC's budget, we should start at the top. My question is to the Premier. Why is his government cutting social services and giving massive handouts to corporations and billionaires when he should be doing the opposite? Thank you.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me speak to the approach that our government has been bringing in contrast to when the opposition was in power. Income assistance frozen for a decade under the opposition when they were in power, a 73% increase.
Members, it's members. Minister, please complete.
Thank you. They brought in mean-spirited barriers to people that needed help the most, canceling the disability bus pass, for example. We brought it back. The opposition
Members. Order, members. Members, take it easy. Please conclude.
We're proud of the investments that we have made in people that need extra help, that need a lift up. We're going to continue to do that work, guided by our poverty reduction strategy. It's a record we'll continue to build on.
House Leader of the Fourth Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canada now has the fastest growing assisted suicide program in the world. And here in British Columbia, 1 in 20 deaths is now by government-assisted suicide. That's 1 in 20. This program was supposed to be a last resort, reserved for those suffering unbearable physical pain and facing imminent death. But a recent Cardis report has exposed something truly horrifying. 42% of all MAID deaths involved people living with disabilities, people who needed support, not a lethal injection. And 1 in 5 of those deaths involved people who were suffering from isolation and loneliness. Mr. Speaker, my question for the Premier is this. Why is this government facilitating the death of people who aren't dying when it should be providing them with the support and dignity they need to keep living?
Minister of Health.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. The choice of an individual in a situation in which they are facing the most extreme, the most dire consequences is something to take incredibly seriously. That's why we have followed in the framework that has been set out by the federal government in respecting the rights of individuals to make these decisions and using a system of accountabilities to ensure that these decisions are made with integrity, with support and with compassion. Mr. Speaker, we're going to continue in the vein of that work and at the same time continuing to provide the supports for people and their families as they experience the bereavement, the suffering and the loss from any number of reasons why a person may choose to take this course. That's an incredibly serious topic and one that we will continue to listen to experts in various fields as we guide this path forward. Thank you.
Member supplemental.
1 in 20. When this program began, every Canadian was told it would only apply in the most extreme cases. People in agonizing pain with no hope of recovery. No one, and I'm sure not a single person in this chamber, believed we would ever come to this. That in our beautiful province, people with disabilities, people struggling to survive, people battling loneliness would be encouraged to die. The Premier has the power to stop this, to stop it now, to legislate, to use the notwithstanding clause if needed. Let's put aside for a moment the issue of those with terminal illnesses. Mr. Speaker, will the Premier at least introduce legislation to stop the government from killing people who aren't actually dying?
Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'll simply repeat a few of the things I said in that these are very personal decisions that are taken by individuals together with their families, with their care providers, under a strong system of accountability to ensure that these decisions are taken with compassion and made with integrity. Those decisions lie with those people, and I know that everyone in this House wishes nothing but the very best for a person and their family who is facing the issue of a terminal disease or another reason for which they would choose this path. We will continue to follow the guidance of experts in medical experts, in human rights experts, and listen to that guidance as we move forward. Thank you.
Member for Surrey Cloverdale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The government's mismanagement of law enforcement in our province has destabilized policing like we've never seen before, creating a recruiting, retention, and training crisis. A lack of comprehensive HR strategy and years of underinvestment in the Justice Institute has forced agencies to compete for new recruits and resort to poaching each other's experienced officers, luring them with taxpayer-funded signing bonuses. The shortage has gotten so bad that VPD and others are considering pulling back their officers from critical integrated teams like CFSEU. This government has created a competitive policing environment when they should have created and nurtured a cooperative one. Mr. Speaker, FIFA is only 9 months away. With the shortage of police in the region reaching a breaking point, police overtime costs skyrocketing, and taxpayers footing the bill, how does this Premier intend to provide policing for FIFA, and how much is it going to cost the taxpayer?
Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for the question. Police departments, municipal, as well as RCMP across BC and across Canada are facing challenges and staffing pressures. That's why recently we announced the expansion of training seats at the Justice Institute of British Columbia by 50% to ensure that high-quality recruits can get into communities faster. Centralized training is essential to ensure that standards are consistent throughout the province. We have also invited municipal police to submit proposals for local training opportunities that are satellite and tethered to the Justice Institute. We all have the same goals of ensuring that there are sufficient police resources in our communities. We will continue to work with police, with levels of government, and with all partners to ensure that we have adequate policing resources, especially around major events like FIFA 2026.
Member supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's unfortunate this investment comes more than 6 years late and won't be sufficient to meet the needs of police across this province. But, Mr. Speaker, in September, I joined MLAs in Prince George to tour the impacts of the NDP's failed drug and soft-on-crime policies. It was a working tour with business leaders, and we walked in front of a downtown business where a man openly consuming drugs through an uncapped used hypodermic needle in our direction. It was a stark example of what community members in Prince George and in communities across this province face every single day. In July, a new Westminster police officer told Global News, quote, "The provincial government has made it very clear charges for simple possession will not be entertained. Those will not be approved," end quote. Despite claiming to have recriminalized public drug use last year, this government has continued their failed experiment by refusing to prosecute drug possession. If drugs have truly been recriminalized in public, can the Premier tell us how much drug possession charge approvals have increased since last year, or will he finally admit that this government has no intention of enforcing the law?
Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you to the member for the follow-up question. Let me be clear that public drug use is illegal in British Columbia. And where there is public drug use, police have the power to seize drugs and move people along. We know the police are doing this work. Possession seizures have more than doubled since the Premier made a change to the decriminalization policy. In the last 2 years, we have also opened over 400 new treatment and recovery beds to help more people who are struggling with addiction. We will keep working with police, keep working with community partners and across government to ensure that we save lives and keep communities safe.
Member for North Island.
In British Columbia today, nurses are being punched, strangled, threatened with weapons, and even sexually assaulted. The BC Nurses Union president said, "Health care facilities are like pressure cookers right now," while nurses say they've never seen it so bad. Our hospitals are short-staffed, overloaded, unsafe, and out of control. Our frontline workers, nurses and doctors, are often bullied, reprimanded, and fired for trying to speak out about the violence they endure. To the Premier, do you commit to get rid of censorship of healthcare workers? Yes or no?
Minister of Health.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. Thank you to the member for the question and bringing up the incredibly important topic of safety in healthcare workplaces. Mr. Speaker, a number of us had the privilege of meeting with the BC Nurses Union this morning to discuss this very topic, and I will emphasize and I will agree with the member and every member in this House who says that hospitals are a place where people go to get well. It is not a place where people go to experience any form of violence, whether you're a patient or a nurse or any other healthcare worker in that setting. Mr. Speaker, preventing violence in the workplace is absolutely critical to creating the safe, supportive workplaces where people can do what they were trained to do, and that is to deliver health care. That is why we have continued to focus on a number of different approaches to reducing violence in the workplace. Mr. Speaker, that includes listening to nurses, frontline nurses like the ones that we met this morning, like the ones that I have met across the province over this past year, hearing from them terrible stories. Mr. Speaker, heartbreaking stories, very difficult circumstances that affect not only those individuals, but their entire unit and the workers and other nurses with them. That's why we're going to continue to invest in the Relational Security Initiative, Mr. Speaker. That's why we're continuing to work with the Nurses Union to hear about other ways that we can create safer, more supportive workplaces, including minimum to nurse patient ratios. We're going to stay focused on this work, Mr. Speaker, because violence in any healthcare workplace is completely unacceptable.
Member for Courtney Comox.
Heartbreaking. Speaker, 850 seniors across this province are at risk of being thrown into hospital hallways and the streets due to this government's reckless cuts to long-term care funding. Will this minister reverse course and extend the funding deadline immediately? Yes or no?
Minister of Health.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for the question and for the letter that he's recently written me. Again, I want to start out by just saying thank you to all of the workers in long-term care facilities, assisted living facilities across this province for what they do to deliver exceptional, dedicated care to seniors and their families. Mr. Speaker, the program that the member is referring to, I know, as he understands, was a temporary measure brought in during extraordinary circumstances, during the COVID-19 pandemic, at a time when we had to take extraordinary action because of the state that long-term care was left in when we formed government in 2017. Mr. Speaker, we are addressing the root issues around building out our long-term care system, hiring more workers into our long-term care system, and Mr. Speaker, raising the standards of care because of the way it was left when we formed government and the work that we have had to do to fill those gaps. Mr. Speaker, we're going to continue to work with the BC Care Providers Association. Health authorities are working with operators as they move through this transition. We are and we will remain incredibly dedicated to continuing to invest in building and hiring so seniors get the care they deserve. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Peace River South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This past week, Tumbler Ridge ER closed. 100 Mile District's ER closed. Tomorrow, Burns Lake ER closed. 3 communities, 0 life-saving support. Will the minister guarantee the reopening of the Tumbler Ridge ER and no further ER closures in this province?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for the question around the incredibly important subject of rural, but also, as we've seen, urban emergency rooms and the challenges that we are facing across the province when it comes to workforce and being able to fully staff emergency rooms with doctors, with nurses, with the healthcare professionals that need to be there. Mr. Speaker, when an emergency room goes on a temporary diversion, it is incredibly unsettling for people. It is difficult not only for communities but for the healthcare workers themselves. And again, I want to say thank you to those workers for doing everything they can because I know it's incredibly hard on them when emergency rooms are temporarily closed as well. Mr. Speaker, that's why we are going to continue to focus on doing everything we can with health authorities to fill those gaps. Health authorities work often up to just hours before an emergency room might be temporarily closed, trying to fill those gaps. But Mr. Speaker, the answer is recruiting, training more healthcare professionals. It is incorporating new technologies. As we've seen, Interior Health is moving forward to help sustain physicians and smaller ERs with virtual service as well. This is supporting the emergency rooms, it's supporting communities. We are going to continue to do this work because we know just how unacceptable it is for communities to face this kind of stress. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Kamloops Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, there was a very serious question asked on behalf of 850 seniors that face eviction essentially from where they are living a week from now. And that was whether or not the minister would restore funding for a critical program and critical services that those seniors rely on to make sure they have safe and secure housing. Can we get a clear answer from the minister, not deflection, not much work to do, not blaming governments from 1942? Can we get an answer from the minister on behalf of those 800, most importantly for those 850 seniors? Will they have funding extended by this government, yes or no?
Yeah.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Again, we know that this was a temporary measure that was brought in at a time when it was very much needed. But Mr. Speaker, what we need is a sustainable, long-term model of care for seniors. And Mr. Speaker, that is exactly what we are focused on. And that means hearing from operators as they go through this transition, as they are speaking up, as we are working with the BC care providers, they are monitoring and talking to their members as well. We know that this funding has been used in a variety of different ways by different operators. And Mr. Speaker, we're going to continue to work with them. But at the same time, Mr. Speaker, we have to address the root cause. And the root cause is adding more healthcare workers into that system, providing the supports that seniors need when they're living in these facilities. Mr. Speaker, that is adding more training seats, that is making the healthcare, Mr. Speaker, that is making the program where people can earn and learn and become a healthcare assistant more accessible in more communities around this province. We are deeply committed to that work. We're going to continue to do it.
Member supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, no timeline, no firm commitment from this government on anything today. Much work to do. We have to continue the hard work. We are aware of the hard work. That's what we hear. That doesn't get schools built. That doesn't get schools that have been under the threat of being decrepit or burned down, and a minister that's unaware of which schools we're even talking about in this province. Yet Bill 15 was supposed to expedite those schools being rebuilt. I come from a district that had a school burned down. It took 5 instructional years for this government to replace a school on a site that a school used to exist on. That's the track record of this government, not previous governments, this government. We ask questions about in the middle of a housing crisis, in the middle of an affordability crisis, we ask the minister questions around a 92-unit housing project that still hasn't opened its doors, doesn't even know what units we're talking about, let alone a date for when those units might be open for people to live in. Again, I come from a city that has 42 units that were supposed to be open 2.5 years ago. We still can't get a date for those units either. That's this direction. We have a government trying to lecture us about poverty reduction, yet they forget that they had a campaign promise that seniors were going to get bus passes. Where are those seniors' bus passes, Minister? Where's the $1,000 grocery rebate? The list goes on and on of broken promises from this government, no one else. Much work to do on nurses' safety. They acknowledge that nurses continue to see an escalation of violence in the workplace. They acknowledge it's not acceptable, yet they don't provide any answer in terms of a timeline or a deliverable that we can count on. Other, they're going to continue to work on security guards that are not allowed to engage or touch any perpetrator that's actually inflicting violence on those nurses in their workplace. It's not good enough.
Question, member.
And all of those are much larger systemic issues that this government can't answer for. So I'm going to ask for a third time today on behalf of the 850 seniors that are terrified of what's going to happen over the next week. They can't wait for nurses to go through training. They need funding to stay in place so their existing housing needs are being met. Will this government extend the funding for those 850 seniors across this province, or should they expect eviction notices over the next week?
Members. Member. Shh. Government House. Members. Government House Leader.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The member keeps saying, just say yes, just say yes. Is that what goes on in their caucus? And the question comes up, do you support our leader, Honourable Speaker? You know,
members. 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 Members, come to order. Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. There is no question on this side of the House as to whether or not we support our leader. this, Honourable Speaker, because the only systemic problem they seem to have is getting themselves organized and deciding what side of an issue they stand on and which leader they support, either now or in the future, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, Honourable Speaker, Honourable
Members.
Speaker, this side of the House is focused, this side of the House is
Members.
focused on building this province. We are building.
Members.
We are doing our job. We are doing our job building schools like Hazel Tranbach, Honourable Speaker. We are doing our job by building hospitals in ridings like Fort St. James, Honourable Speaker, which we are opening. We are doing our job by strengthening the rights of workers, Honourable Speaker. We are doing our job on this side of the House with building an economy that will lift people up, Honourable Speaker. By opening up the northwest of British Columbia, by spending more than $195 million on Northwest so that we're getting the roads in place to open the mines that are going to build this province, create the good paying jobs, train young people in this province so they've got a future here, addressing issues of homelessness, Honourable Speaker. That's what this side of the House is doing. They can complain all they want. All they need to do is support their leader. For that, if you say yes.
The bell ends the question period. Phew. All right, it's over. Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk.
Orders of the day.
Government House Leader.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I call motion 48 on the order paper. Honourable Speaker, I move motion 48, of which notice has been given in my name on the order paper, which ratifies membership changes to the Select Standing Committee on Children and Youth.
Member, the question is the adoption of motion 48. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Government House Leader.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I call motion 67 on the order paper. Honourable Speaker, I move motion 67, of which notice has been given in my name on the order paper, which further amends the membership of the Select Standing Committee on Children and Youth.
Question is adoption of motion 67. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Government House Leader.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. In this chamber, I call second reading Bill 31, Energy Statutes Amendment Act. And in Section A, the Douglas Fir Room, I call Committee of the Whole on Bill 17, Intimate Images Protection Statutes Amendment Act.
Thank you. Committee chairs.
All right, members.
I'll just be getting going.
Members, we'll call this chamber back to order, please, and we'll ask you to take your conversations outside. We are about to hear from the Minister on Bill 31, the Energy Statutes Amendment Act of 2025. I would recognize our Minister of Energy.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. And Honourable Speaker, I move that Bill 31, the Energy Statutes Amendment Act, be read a second time now. And on this occasion, I think, Honourable Speaker, I think it would be useful and important to acknowledge that I'm speaking from the territory of the Lekwungen-speaking people, the Songhees and the Esquimalt First Nations. Honourable Speaker, this bill, this legislation, which advances British Columbia's economy, which is about using and leveraging our clean electricity to drive economic growth and diversification, unlocking the potential of the northwest of our province, and supporting the growth of key sectors for the benefit of all British Columbians. People know the urgency. They know the urgency in terms of economic and trade uncertainty requiring action, and we are acting. They know the urgency in these times
where communities across our province and across our world are dealing with issues of climate change, the need to drive clean electricity in our province and our world at a time when clean electricity is becoming more affordable, not less affordable. That our electricity system, our publicly owned utility, BC Hydro, created, by the way, under a social credit government, then supported under governments of multiple political stripes since then, can play the role that it has played in particular in the 1960s to drive the next generation of economic growth in BC. We believe, the government believes, the Premier believes, that BC will be the economic driver of growth in Canada, and that our clean electricity is a competitive advantage to support the next generation of clean growth and job creation in British Columbia. The North Coast Transmission Line, which is dealt with in this legislation, in the first section of this legislation, will enable us to unlock the growth potential of our electricity-constrained Northwest. It is important to note, Honourable Speaker, that it is of particular importance and concern to the constituencies and the people of the Northwest, the people in Prince George, North Caribou, who are on the line, the issue in Prince George Mackenzie on the line, Prince George Valemont, where the Wilson substation is located on the line. But also, of course, and importantly, in the Chaco Lakes, Bulkley Valley Stikine, Skeena, North Coast Haida Gwaii, those communities will get from this action, this building of a North Coast transmission line, better access to electricity for residential, for commercial, and for industrial use. It is of particular benefit to communities in the North, but it is competitive to all of us because surely the success of the Northwest is the success of all of us in British Columbia. This also allows us, the North Coast Transmission Line, a generational opportunity to unlock a golden triangle of mining opportunities, expanding our world-leading and cleanest LNG sector, Honourable Speaker, with Indigenous-led projects featuring in the Northwest, ensuring, in fact, that we are, consistent with government policy, electrifying our LNG, something that the world wants and is showing its benefits everywhere, and electrifying future port expansions to increase and diversify trade, not just in communities such as Prince Rupert, importantly, but also Stewart, also Kitimat, Honourable Speaker. The North Coast Transmission Line is a nation-building project that will unlock this potential. At the same time, Honourable Speaker, we must ensure that BC Hydro continues to adapt to evolving market conditions, including new sources of electricity demand that can scale quickly and consume vast amounts of energy. This is not new, and jurisdictions across North America and across the world are dealing with this question. Members of the House will know, just a few years ago, the actions the government took in terms of the crypto mining industry to ensure that the clean electricity we have in BC are used in the best possible way. At first a temporary ban, and now into a permanent ban on the allocation of electricity to crypto in British Columbia. And the reason for it was that we have an industry that uses vast amounts of electricity. And before the ban, that's 150 megawatts, which is no small amount of electricity now, that it would in effect take away from the ratepayers of British Columbia and from other industries that do create jobs, opportunities. So that decision was taken and supported in this House and supported by the parties in this House, and what we're doing today is consistent with that. Bill 31 will enable a new, unique, and innovative approach to enable data and AI centers to proceed in a way that's pragmatic, in a way that supports the projects that provide the greatest benefit to our province in terms of data sovereignty, in terms of job creation, in terms of support for our economy. We, of course, must continue to support the natural resource sectors that have been drivers of our economy, and you see that reflected in the actions the government's taken, not just in the North Coast Transmission Line, but the projects directly connected to that, the clean energy projects directly connected to that, all of them, as a group, majority owned by First Nations, but importantly, Honourable Speaker, able to electrify the industries that we need to create wealth in the future. This is what BC Hydro does at its best. It builds our province, and this legislation supports it, Honourable Speaker. We have watched and we've learned from the missteps of other jurisdictions, and those missteps are everywhere. We are taking, yes, a different approach, one that learns from the challenges that other jurisdictions have faced, and responds to the unprecedented demands from the growth from crypto mining and the expansion of AI and data center projects in a way that puts British Columbia's interests first. It's about striking the right balance, driving growth in traditional and in emerging new sectors, and enabling the right projects at the right pace that supports strategic investments that align with our economic interests and our interests in data sovereignty, while delivering the greatest benefits to British Columbia. Honourable Speaker, I'm going to talk specifically to members of the House who've reviewed the bill. I look forward to the remarks of my colleague from Peace River South to follow. We'll know that this is a relatively small bill, as these things go. It's 5 sections of the bill, and I just want to go through. We'll let the bells ring. Well, I want to go through those sections. It's not a standalone bill, it's a statutes amendment bill, and how they lay out and support British Columbia ratepayers and people across British Columbia. As everyone knows, and talk about the North Coast Transmission Line, electricity is the backbone of BC's economy. It powers the resource sectors that built this province. These industries don't just rely on electricity, they rely on clean, affordable, and reliable power to stay competitive in a global market. In BC, electricity isn't just an input, it's a strategic advantage, and has always been, that fuels jobs, exports, and rural economy, while making BC a leader in addressing questions of climate change. The North Coast Transmission Line will enable tens of billions of dollars in development across northern BC that need access to electricity to proceed. Industrial projects connected to the North Coast Transmission Line are expected to create approximately 9,700 direct full-time jobs per year, contribute $9.85 billion per year to the GDP, and approximately $1 billion to public, provincial, and municipal revenues on average, and avoid 2 to 3 million tons of carbon emissions per year. Without the NCTL, this private sector investment would not happen, putting these jobs, the economic growth potential, and regional development at risk. Amendments to the Hydro and Power Authority Act contained in the legislation will enable the construction of the NCTL in partnership with First Nations along the line, and will unlock a generational opportunity to create new sources of economic growth. And it does so in, I think, a positive way, in partnership, that allows us to advance the project, build the project more quickly, and in partnership and connect it to local communities where revenues from the line stay in the region where the work is happening. An important value that certainly members from the region will understand, but communities will understand. There's always a lot of talk, Honourable Speaker, about how we deal with transformative issues of reconciliation. There are many ways to do that. But one of them, surely, is to ensure that when there is upside, when you see the possibility for mining growth, you work in the Northwest, you work with the Tahltan. When you see opportunities in LNG, you work with the Haisla. When you see activities in any area, whether it be the Port of Prince Rupert or along the lines, whether it be in mining, Honourable Speaker, or other areas, that the opportunities be available for people living in the region, including First Nations. And that is what this section does. BC Hydro currently does not have the authority to engage in such a joint venture partnership with First Nations. This law changes that, Honourable Speaker. It will also, and this is a critical aspect to what we're doing, it allows us to address issues of reconciliation, which are challenges and important elements of every project, every major project we build in BC, in a way that shares the upside. And surely this is what we should be doing as a province together. I am proud of BC Hydro, which has worked since 2003 with First Nations to make this happen. I was proud of the day when Wet'suwet'en traditional and elected chiefs, Honourable Speaker, joined me to sign term sheets in the second part of the line. It was a great day for me and a great day for our province, a great day for BC Hydro. I'm proud of the work done and the leadership shown by First Nations on these questions. And we continue to work to ensure that term sheets are signed so that we can do what we all expect to do, which is to start construction in 2026 on a line that will benefit the north and the northwest of BC. Let's get it done. And this provision, this law, this change in the law allows us to do that. And that's why it has the support, I think, of those First Nations, but it also, I hope, will have the support of all members of the House, because this is how we bring change together, by working together and building for the greater benefit of all, and that is precisely what the North Coast transmission line does. It does that for all of the communities in the region. Members who are from the north will know sometimes that electricity services in residential residential in particular, but also in commercial service, is not always the best. This will make things better in every community on the line. And I say for the first and second phase, all of those communities are in opposition ridings. It will make it better. And doing this in partnership will make it better as well. These are important considerations, and I hope members of the House will support them. The legislation also ensures that the joint venture partnership continues and the rights and responsibilities of BC Hydro continue to be held by the BCUC and other regulators so that we can ensure that the new joint venture partnership is not a way out of regulation, but in fact ensures that the regulation provided to BC Hydro under the Utilities Commission Act, the Hydro and Power Act, continue to be in place, an important consideration. This is not a way out of regulation, quite the contrary, is to ensure that BC Hydro's responsibilities to that regulation, to the community, and to its obligations under the law are maintained in the joint venture partnership, which is an important consideration for all. I want to speak briefly about the allocation framework, and I think it's important to understand sometimes we think things are new. In fact, of course, British Columbia has an interconnection policy now. It has effectively an allocation policy now. And what this policy does is change it. And under the existing interconnection policy, BC Hydro is obligated to provide electricity services to potential customers on a first-come, first-served basis, without consideration of what the end use of the power will be, including how many jobs it will support for BC, or how it will benefit the economy, how it will affect ratepayers, how it will generate revenue and benefits for British Columbians. The current approach, and that will continue because the legislation is specific, and it's this legislature's job to decide. This legislation is specific about what the allocation framework will apply to and what it doesn't. For most industries, manufacturing, energy, forestry, mining, and so on, the rules will remain the same. They will not be subject to an allocation framework. And if we wanted to apply an allocation framework to those industries, then we would have to come back to the House and apply it. Right? So this allocation framework is intended to deal with what jurisdictions across North America are dealing with, the speed of growth in emerging sectors such as data and AI centers, and potentially, not right now, but potentially, hydrogen production for export. The rapid scalability of these requires government intervention and action. I spoke of the action that we took on the crypto mining industry, which was broadly supported, including by all parties in the House at the time. We need to ensure the competitive advantage of clean electricity supports industries that deliver the highest benefit to BC and Canadians. Not just energy-consuming warehouses filled with servers that benefit foreign interests with little or no job creation. This is not good for climate change, this is not good for our economy, and this imposes potentially costs on ratepayers that would be unacceptable. That's the reason we're doing this for these sectors, AI, data centers, hydrogen for export, and crypto mining. That's why the allocation of framework applies here. Industries, as I said, that grow our economy, create well-paying jobs, reduce emissions, and strengthen the backbone of BC's economy need access to reliable, clean energy. And what we have seen in other jurisdictions, where we've seen a rapid growth of data centers, is when other opportunities come along, they are effectively blocked, and electricity rates are climbing. We see this, for example, if people are following in politics, the governor's race in New Jersey, where 22% single-year increases in electricity rates, paid for by ratepayers but caused by the rapid expansion of data centers, are causing significant issues. So in our case, we accept, Honourable Speaker, we want to have growth in these sectors, but we want to pace it consistent with our ability to provide clean electricity and not, and in the interests of ratepayers. This is why the bill is enabling in that respect. It will enable BC Hydro to launch a competitive call for projects in early 2026 for a 2-year period that allocates 300 megawatts for AI and 100 megawatts for data centers. Amounts for hydrogen exports will be set at a later time, and we'll talk about this in a moment, because that industry isn't prepared in any event. It prepares for the day when it might be, and that would be a hopeful time in our province. We've seen jurisdictions struggle when growth in emerging high-load, fast-scaling industries such as crypto, data centers, artificial intelligence centers, and large-scale hydrogen facilities outpace infrastructure. It's important to proactively create a framework to prevent this from happening in BC, to allow development, but it means we can do it so that it doesn't negatively affect our people, our ratepayer, and our economy. And that's what this framework, enabled by the bill, does. These actions are about protecting our grid, prioritizing local economic value, and making sure our power goes where it matters most. And I want to say specifically so we understand, in Quebec, they passed legislation that allows the minister and the cabinet to decide about projects above 5 megawatts. That is not what we're doing here. And I'll just reflect on how we deal with calls for power. We did a call for power in 2024. We saw the results in December 2024. I became the minister in November 2024, and I found out the results, the winners in that process, on the day before it was announced. The decisions were made in a process overseen by an ethics officer that ensured that it was a fair and competitive process. I think that's an important consideration here for everyone to understand, that this is not a decision where the government gets to choose winners or losers. We get to set out criteria. In the case of that call for power, for example, there was a requirement for Indigenous participation. In the first call for power, a requirement of the maximum level of a project. In that case, the maximum level was 200 megawatts. We changed that in the second round. Government can set, as the people's representatives, can set the criteria, but it doesn't make the decisions about who wins and who doesn't. You set the criteria, and the winner is determined by the quality of the bids and the analysis that's made from those bids. And then an announcement is made. This is not a way for government to make decisions about individual projects. We get to set the criteria, what's important. Jobs are important. Economic value is important. Climate change is important. Reconciliation is important. The impact on ratepayers, those are all important. Impact in the broader economy is important, and most specifically, in this day and age, data sovereignty is important. And those would be considerations that would be laid out in regulation. That's something that we can engage as well with the opposition on, which is what should be the criteria that we put forward. But those are the ones that we see as important in making the decision. Value of the economy, support for data sovereignty, which is important for all people in BC, and other issues such as impact on the climate and reconciliation. A project may be able to reuse heat, for example. They would get credit for that, for example. And that's something we can discuss. So it's not a question of myself as minister, which happens in other jurisdictions and other laws like this, of making the decision. This is an allocation framework that is a competitive process for access to one of the best resources in the world, BC's clean power. And that is how we are going to engage in it, Honourable Speaker.
Noting
and
the
with that, Honourable Speaker, I reserve my place and ask for adjournment of the debate.
Member, you heard the question to adjourn the debate. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Government House Leader.
I move leave to seek to make an introduction.
Is leave granted?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I wanted just to draw the Chamber's attention to grade 5 and 7 students who are here from the Pacific Christian School in the gallery. They are visiting with their teacher, Hannah Benischek, and they are here to have a look at what happens in the House. We are so grateful, and I know that Minister Lana Popham is also very grateful to have you here on the precinct today. Would the House please join me in making them feel very welcome?
Committee Chair.
Mr. Speaker, Section A reports progress on Bill 17 and asks leave to sit again.
When shall the committee sit again, Government House Leader?
At the next sitting of the House after today.
So ordered. Government House Leader.
I move the House to now adjourn.
Member, you heard the question to adjourn the House. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. This House stands adjourned until 1 p.m. today.